it was Pete and Geets, and Geets is here. Great to have you here. On CHUM FM, it was Pete and Geets, Tim Thomas, Larry Green, David Marsden, Brian Master, Jim Bauer, David Pritchard, and sometimes on the weekend, and always on Christmas Day, some guy named Benji Carson. Not to mention two of the best commercial voices in the world, Walter Souls and Ron Morey, on retainer to come in every week to do spots, and Walter Souls is here. Thanks for coming. It would take me hours to name all the friends, all the greats I've worked with over the years. But I want to name check those air staffs because for a kid from Cape Breton, they were overwhelming, awe-inspiring, and just plain inspiring. Two other events from my early days I want to tell you about. Just 4 months into my job, I quit. I was homesick. My boss was incredibly hard on me, which I appreciate now, but I didn't appreciate at the time. And quite frankly, I was culture shocked. I had never been in a town with more than 12,000 people in it in my whole life. So I quit. My boss says, fine, that's what you want to do. Then a few hours later, he comes up to me and he says, I went upstairs to see Mr. Waters. He knows who you are. He asked me to give you this. And then he hands me Mr. Waters' personal Air Canada credit card. He says, Mr. Waters wants you to take this credit card down to the Air Canada office on University Avenue. He wants you to get an open-ended ticket. He wants you to go home. And when you're ready to come back, your job will be here for you.
Oh my God.
I took the card, I flew home, I stayed 4 days. Second story. In 1976, when I was 23, Steve Borning took a job as creative director at an ad agency, and he asked me to go with him. I liked Steve. I thought I would like the agency business. I hated it. The fun, the creativity, the genius that was in every studio and hallway at CHUM and CHUM FM were nowhere to be found. The doors were closed, the hallways were quiet, the music was turned way down. Bob Wood, I think, knew I would hate it. After 4 months, he called me and he said, are you ready to come back? I said, yes, but to do what? Bob said, make a list of what you want to do, and I'll sign it. So I made my list. I want to do a morning show. I want to make movies. I want to do TV shows. I want to do TV commercials. I want to do print ads. I want to do comedy. I want to dream up contests and organize promotions. I want to do great commercials and work with great clients, and I want to work with everybody in the building. Bob kept his word on everything. Roger mentioned this, but soon Roger and Bob McMillan and I were traveling to Barrie every week to make the CHUM Video History of Rock. I wrote the CHUM 30 TV show. I got to write TV commercials for George Carlin, radio commercials for Rick Moranis, and a weekly radio show for Wolfman Jack. I wrote every morning for Jay Nelson, and my great friend Bernie DeBrookie and I did a comedy bit called Air Held. I hired Bernie. Bernie was the creative director of the Big 8 CKLW. I hired Bernie after listening to his demo reel for 45 seconds. After Jay retired, I became Larry Gagman with the amazing Tom Rivers, a 6-year-old boy wrapped up in a 400-pound body, who also happened to be a mischievous genius. Throw in our gifted producers Kevin Putnam and Al Tricky, throw in funny man Bob Humanick, Mary Ann Zuma doing traffic, throw in Dick Smythe. Dick is here. Thanks for coming, Dick. Brian Henderson was here, he had to leave, but throw in Dick Smith, Brian Henderson, and you've got, as the Subway poster said at the time, not just any Tom, Dick, and Henny. And when Tom left, I thought I couldn't possibly have that much fun again. Then came Roger, Rick, and Marilyn. Roger, Haji, our smart and funny and wonderful sister Marilyn, Darren, Tom Jokic, Larry Wilson doing news, followed by my world travel buddy Jeff Howitt, Bob Summers, Amber. What a time we had, all the laughs we had. It was amazing. Which only goes to show you, whatever happens in your life, don't ever say, that's it, it's over. I'll never have that much fun again. I am living proof that that is not the case. A couple of times a year I speak to students at community colleges, and I always tell them about mentors. I say, get one and be one. And I was lucky. I've had many. My first CHUM boss, Mike Kornfeld, who was so tough on me, taught me to write it, rewrite it again. Talent is worthless if you're not willing to work, and it's what you take out that counts. Bob Wood taught me how to think clearly and strategically, how to write a precise memo and organize a contest. That it's okay to make mistakes as long as you learn from them. And blame is pointless. From Bill McDonald, who wrote CHUM's Elvis Presley story and the evolution of rock, with Doug Thompson and Chuck Bloor, he created some of the greatest radio commercials of the last 50 years. Doug is here. Doug, you've been an inspiration to me. The commercials you did in those years. With Doug Thompson and Chuck Bloor, Bill created some of the best radio commercials of the last 50 years. I learned from Bill how to convey honest emotion, that the heart is as important as the brain, and there is always delight in surprise. Jim Waters, Ross Davies, and Brad Phillips proved you can beat your competition without beating your staff. Fred Surratt and Duff Roman, privately and in public, were models of class and dignity and made me proud to be a CHUM person. And you, every one of you, taught me the value of loyalty and friendship. Once in the 90s, as part of one of those Bruce Vincent navel-gazing exercises that we all loved, we were asked to write a line or two describing what CHUM meant to us. I wrote this: CHUM is a badge of honor that I wear with pride and try to shine every day. I want you to know something. I have not thrown my badge away. Whatever your personal badge is, wear it with pride and keep it shine. I love you and I thank you. And let's do this all over again in 40 years. I'll only be 100.